video is actually for my successor. Set of things that they need to know to make their life a lot smoother. All right, let's get into the video. So the very first thing you should know is about Unzen City in Nagasaki Prefecture. And the first thing you need to know about it is that Unzen City is not really a city. Yeah, it's not, right? So as such, transportation is quite difficult. But don't worry, all the ALTs in that area are actually given the opportunity to rent cars monthly. And honestly, the people that we use when we're renting cars for our area is actually really great. So you don't have to worry about that, except for the fact that you will have to pay upwards of 30,000 yen per month for that rental. But it really is worth it when you think about the full 100 of it and how much it costs to rent vehicles in Japan regardless. And I would advise you to pay for the extra insurance because you just never know. I got by perfectly fine for the time I was there, but to be fair, 2 other people totaled their cars that I knew, okay? So they got off in a sense scot-free, you know, because the insurance covered it. So don't risk it. Just pay the extra $3,000 per month and get that full insurance protection, right? As well as you get a monthly servicing of your vehicle, and that's only with our area. So if you're going to be in somewhere else in that Unzen City, then you're all on your own. But as far as Unzen City people go, it's actually pretty organized and very comfortable. So that's the first thing. Transportation is tricky because it's not a city, but don't worry, you'll get a car to drive. All right. So point 1 leads to point 2, and point 2 is about your driving license. So I would advise that you get your international driving license as close as possible to the time that you're coming to Japan, because the moment it expires or your original license expires, you can no longer drive. And that actually happened to me. I mean, actually my Jamaican license expired and then I just couldn't drive anymore. But to be fair, you like to get like a full year worth out of your driver's license, your international driver's license. And that's the full length. So even if your country gives you 5 years on international driver's license, it doesn't matter. Japan only gives you 1 year. So that means you only have 1 year from the moment that that license was invoked and when you come into Japan for it to be valid, okay? So as such, try to get it as close as possible to the time that you're actually leaving to go to Japan, right? And then from there, if you're going to stay longer than that, you want to drive, of course you have to get the Japanese driving license. It's a transfer procedure, and I have another video on that, so you can check that out. All right, so move on to number 3. All right, the third important thing to know before you head into Unzen is something you'll know once you're coming to Japan overall to work, and that is your seal. Inkan in Japanese, you use this instead of signing, and you have to get this before you actually should order it before you actually arrive in Japan. It can go from 1,000 to 3,000 yen depending on how many characters you have in your name and pretty much who is designing it. Mine actually costs 3,000 yen, but I actually had 2 names on mine. So I actually had my first name and my last name, so it was like pretty well, a lot of characters they had to write. And as such, you have to know how your name is written in katakana. So you can go to your embassy and find out if you like. You can Google it if you like, but it will benefit you to actually get somebody who speaks Japanese to also sound it out so that you're sure that's how your name sounds, right? Because the Incan symbols are in katakana for us foreigners because we don't have kanji names, right? Once you get into Japan though, you can get yourself something like this where you kind of like have your Incan inside, and then you can just bloop, bloop, stamp it as you go along and it's nice and secure. Or you can get something like this where your Incan, it's way fancier. This version is actually pretty fancy and it was a gift to me. But this version now, you have your Incan, you have your ink that you will stamp it in. So you just stick it in the ink then stamp, like a regular stamp would do, but you know, way more important. You have your little case and you travel with it. It's pretty important you travel with it anywhere you need to hand a document. And when you just arrive into Japan, every single document you have to sign up for, your electricity, your water, your internet, everything, because you're pretty much starting over your entire life, all of that would need your income. And which is why most of the times you actually pay for it, or order it at least, before you arrive in Japan. Depending on the cost of it, your BOE may just be okay with it, but in my case, I sent the money ahead of time with my rental money. All right, number 4, the living environment. All right, so the reality is, if you're coming into Unzen, you have the great benefit of the fact that some furniture and appliances were left by the previous LTs. But that's not always the case, and to be fair, you may just not like what they have. So don't worry, you can ask the Board of Education if anything is available. Most likely the things you'll probably see is something huge, like a sofa or a bed, or if you're lucky, a fridge, and definitely maybe a stove. That would be great. Otherwise, you can just really get all those things when you arrive in Japan. And although it seems like, why am I going to buy all of these things? This doesn't make any sense. I'm just staying here for 1 year. I would tell you that it's better to go this route, right? Don't get an apartment that's fully furnished because it's really expensive. So try and get that nice empty apartment that you would now have to furnish. You can furnish it with things that the Board of Education would have stored from previous LTs. You can furnish it with things that you buy from other LTs, as well as you can get it at a secondhand store. And I have another video about furnishing your apartment, how it changes over time, so you don't need to really be too worried about it. So you can check that video out as well. Okay, maybe we're at number 5. The internet environment. So while I was in Unzen, I actually signed up with Himawari because they were the only ones, and I mean the only ones who provided service for where my apartment was located. Right, so they came in, they wired it up and all of that jazz. And because I had a TV that I had gotten from my predecessor, they also gave me free, they connected me up to the free NHK? I'm not really sure. They connected me to the cable, but it was like the free channels. So in the end, it didn't work out for me because my TV gave problem. But it was actually really fun those first 2 weeks to be like, oh my God, look at all these Japanese people on the TV and they're speaking like as if Japanese is normal. Wait. Yeah, so it was pretty fun to actually have it in the beginning. But yeah, Himawari was like a full service kind of company. They'll give you telephone, internet, and TV. You don't need all of that though. You just need the internet because everybody needs the internet. And it was relatively affordable, right? But I would advise that, you know, you can shop around if you like. If you have more options, you can shop around, because anytime I needed to do something like a video meeting or so, and I need to do more than just talk to the camera, like pull up a PowerPoint, or just things that take more internet, more data at the time anyways, it would kind of struggle. But honestly, they did give me a pretty good service, so I won't complain about them. So if you get Himawari, you're in good hands. All right, number 6, we move into the apartment again. So not just the furnishings, but the actual apartment. You should have Googled by now and realized that it's pretty expensive to live in Japan, and no more so expensive as it is to actually get an apartment. Not only would you have to consider that you'll probably be paying 3 months rent in advance, but when you do leave, if you actually leave in the middle of the month, you would have to pay for that entire month on your way out. Separate and apart from the other charges they're going to charge you on your way out, and I promise you they're going to charge you for cleaning no matter how good you clean. But back to this story, when you actually are to arrive, it's really a pretty penny. It really feels like a lot of money because it actually is. But rest assured, it's not you. It's not because you are a foreigner or something of that nature. This is literally how they treat everybody. It's just the rental system there in Japan. If you're lucky, it's not key money, and it's just pretty much like preemptive cleaning money and preemptive 1 month fee money, and that would be great. But sometimes it's key money, which means you don't get that money at all. It's just money you gave to the landlord for fun, as far as I can see. In my case in Unzen, it wasn't key money. It was pretty much paying that very first month rent, paying the 2 days I was there before that, and those 2 days were hella expensive, as well as paying for cleaning and any other little miscellaneous things up front. In all fairness, I think the service was pretty good for my apartment complex, because I remember anything that went wrong, they did send somebody that day, if not the day after. And at one point, my AC completely went putwits, and they replaced the entire thing, and I wasn't charged separately for it at all. So the service of the rental system in Unzen, as far as I know, is pretty good. So you won't feel too bad, but that's really the cost of living in Japan. All right. As for your phone company, this is the last thing I will say, because it is actually hella subjective, and really and truly, I had gotten like 3 providers that emailed me information about them before I had arrived to Japan, and I picked the prettiest one. You'll know if you see it. And they were pretty expensive, honestly, but anytime I needed to contact them, I could just email them and I get back an English response hella easy. My friend got another one when she arrived in Japan, which was a Japanese mobile company, and they were way cheaper. Like, I mean, mine was Japanese, but it had like programs tailored to foreigners, right? And they had English speakers to help you with anything. Whether it was when you just arrive at Tokyo and they're giving you the same, or via online where they'll talk to you on the live chat, they had people tailored for foreigners. However, what my friend had done, she just signed on a local program and with a local company that doesn't have things like that. So she literally had to sign up for everything in Japanese. She had to get help from one of her senpais who could speak and write Japanese. And it was not too difficult because that senpai was there to carry her through it. So either way may occur for you, so don't really worry too hard about it. But if you're going to a very rural area, it may feel a little bit isolated at the beginning when you don't have access to internet. So I didn't have that feeling because I had signed up for my internet before arriving in Japan. So once I was at Tokyo when we arrived, I got my SIM. I could send messages to my family immediately. I could Google things. I could translate things with my phone immediately. But for that 2 weeks of comfort, I paid a higher bill every month for the entire time I was there, versus people who waited and just signed up with a local company. But I would admit, if you don't have someone to help you through that process, it will be difficult. It benefits you to have a number beforehand too, because you actually write your number on a lot of the contracts that you will fill out. Your electricity bill, your water bill, all of those things actually need your phone number as well. So it really does benefit you to actually get it as early as possible. So even if you really do decide to wait, you should try and get it done while you're in Tokyo. Don't wait until you're in your rural nowhere, right? Try and get it done as quick as possible so that you have that phone number, you have that access to people immediately, because once you're in the rural community, it is just so much more difficult to do everything. So you really want to get everything done as early as possible, as soon as possible, as much as possible, right? So this is your prep video for when you are actually about to head into the Unzen city in Nagasaki Prefecture. A couple of things are pretty much generic, but there are quite a few things that were specific to Unzen. And I hope that with that information, your life would start off on the right step in Unzen. Bye!